Good evening, and thank you for joining me on Black News Tonight. I'm Marc Lamont Hill. Testimony continued today in the trial of former Brooklyn Center police officer Kim Potter, the jury getting a chance to hear from her police chief. Tim Gannon called Potter a, quote, fine officer. He says Potter's actions that day did not violate the department's policy. Prosecutors rested their case against Potter today, and the defense brought forth several of its witnesses, including Potter's former supervisor, Frank Roth, and former colleague, Officer Colin Frick. They weighed in on Potter's character, saying she had a sterling reputation for being law-abiding in the community. Potter is expected to testify tomorrow. A new report from the Death Penalty Information Center says that the U.S. has carried out 11 executions in 2021, making it the lowest in 30 years. This comes as a result of growing opposition to the death penalty. According to a 2021 Gallup poll, support of the death penalty is now down to 50% compared to 80% in 1994, although over 2,500 prisoners remain on death row. Out of this year's 11 executions, 6 were black, and 10 had significant impairments. That includes low IQs and the intellectually disabled range. The juvenile court records of civil rights pioneer Claudette Colvin have been expunged. Colvin was arrested back when she was 15 for refusing to give up her seat to a white person. It happened 9 months before Rosa Parks' arrest for also refusing to give up her seat on a bus. A judge granted Colvin's motion to seal the records for good cause and fairness. Colvin says her request was made to show future generations that progress is possible and that things do get better. A jury in Missouri has awarded a transgender student $4 million after allegations that the Blue Springs School District discriminated against the student. The student legally changed their name in 2010 and amended their birth certificate to reflect their new gender and name in 2014. Although legally recognized in the state, the lawsuit filed in 2015 states the district denied the student's use of the boys' restroom and locker room at both Delta Woods Middle School and at the Freshman Center. In a statement obtained by local news KSHB, the Kansas City Area School District said the district disagrees with the verdict and will be seeking appropriate relief from the trials court. Joining me now to talk about all of these stories is attorney, activist, and policy strategist Angelo Pinto. Angelo, good to see you, my brother. Welcome to B&T. Welcome back to B&T, I should say. The prosecution rested its case in Kim Potter's trial today. Out of the witnesses we've heard so far, which one stood out?
For me, I think the father's testimony and the expert were very important. There was a lot of talk about the expert in terms of use of force. He was also the expert used in the Derek Chauvin trial. For me, his testimony speaking to not only that she shouldn't have used deadly force, but she probably shouldn't have used the taser or been inclined to use a taser was very telling. I think the prosecution also realized that he probably had some compelling testimony that swayed things in the Derek Chauvin trial. I also think the use of this spark of life doctrine has some significance in the ways in which Dante's father was able to speak to who his son was, his working relationship with his son, and some of the things his son loved are important pieces of kind of building what the prosecution is trying to build in this case to show kind of culpability not only for Kim Porter, but also that Dante didn't deserve to die.
Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, he's been leading the prosecution. Do you think that he and his team have done a good job building this case so far?
I think they've done a great job. Even today, as the defense began to call some of its witnesses, and they started with an expert who had over 25 years of experience and who I thought was really good during kind of, direct, but on cross, I thought they really diced up his testimony. He left out that he actually was participating in another trial which would be favorable in this jurisdiction for an officer. Initially, he was saying this was the only trial he was involved in where he was an expert that would be favorable for an officer. So I think the prosecution did a good job at also exposing his lack of expertise, exposing that he probably wasn't as thorough on this case as they've witnessed in other cases where he presented extensive notes with respect to his recommendations, and in this case, maybe only 2 pages. So the prosecution has done quite a thorough job at picking apart, even on day one, some of the defense's witnesses. So I think we're going to see more of that. It'll be interesting to see what the defense has up their sleeve. It'll be interesting to see Kim Porter's testimony, which will probably be very important in this trial. But I think as it stands, the prosecution has done a great job, particularly at picking apart some of what the defense is trying to lay out.
A new report shows that only 11 executions were carried out this year. I'm excited about this news. The Kim Potter situation is one that obviously we're going to continue to follow, but I'm thinking about these executions. What does this mean for the future of the practice when we see the numbers drop?
I think it means that maybe we're seeing the last days of the death penalty and executions happening in the United States. I was on the ground in Oklahoma when Julius Jones was about to be executed, and there was activists around the country and folks, of course, far and wide, who lent their voice to raise attention to, you know, probably the wrongfulness and kind of pursuing and continuing to move through with an execution for Julius Jones. And I think what's happening around the country and what this statistic kind of shows is it's not just the case of Julius Jones, but it seems to be widespread opinion that the death penalty no longer has a place in the United States criminal justice system. I think something that folks probably thought we were a long way away from, but I think it speaks to the work of activists and organizers and abolitionists that we are in this place today.
What are some of the major issues involving capital punishment that we should be thinking about?
I think, like most of the issues we see with respect to the criminal justice system, there are usually tremendous racial disparities, the individuals who find themselves even sentenced to death. But I think the other piece that's tremendously important, and I think was the big defining moment or argument in the Julius Jones case, was wrongful convictions and this idea that many individuals have been sentenced to death without substantive evidence, or in cases where it appears that they may not have committed a crime. So I think many folks are also saying not only is the death penalty inhumane, but its use in cases where there is a high propensity of wrongful convictions, its use in cases where there are tremendous racial disparities also speaks to the necessity of ending the practice. So I think those are two pieces that are very important and that have played a role in kind of this public and I think also legal outcry to end the use of the death penalty.
Let's turn, before we go, to Claudette Colvin. She says she requested to have the records expunged to show that future generations, rather, that progress is possible. What do you see as the significance of the move?
For me, the significance is really the history of who she was and what she's done and who she is. I think oftentimes folks speak specifically about Rosa Parks when they think about individuals who tried to, stand up in this moment around the segregation on buses. But Claudette Colvin, as many know, and as many are actually really learning in this particular moment, that she was the first. And she was also a child at the time. I believe she was 14 years old. So I think the history of who she is, who she was, what she's done is tremendously important. I go back and forth with the notion of whether or not the expungement speaks to our progress. But I think if Ms. Colvin believes so, I think there is certainly some merit there. But for me, the most important, I think one of the critical components is who she is in American history and the role she's played in kind of changing things with respect to at least segregation of public accommodations. I think that's an important piece of history, and she shouldn't be left out of it.
Absolutely. Angelo, thank you so much for joining me on this show. We always appreciate your insights. Everybody, make sure you join the conversation by heading over to our BNC Instagram and Twitter pages. Let us know how you feel. Also, visit our website, bnc.tv, and subscribe to the YouTube channel to check out clips from the show.